And joining me now is Democratic Congressman from Tennessee, Steve Cohen. He serves on the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman Cohen, thank you for being here and staying up late for us tonight. Were you surprised to see that the Supreme Court decided to take on this case?
I was, and I was surprised to see the date is April 22nd. It's so far out that it makes it difficult for this case to be heard before the election. There's no case before the Supreme Court today, or probably in a decade, more important than this case. Roe v. Wade, right up there, maybe more important. But this case determines whether or not we know for the next election if our president is a crook, as Richard Nixon asked. Richard Nixon was a crook. And I suspect that the American public wants to know what a jury would think of Donald Trump. Did he try to steal the election? Was it a coup d'etat? Was it an insurrection? Was he involved? Did he know what he was doing? I think we've seen the facts brought out distinctly by the January 6th committee and by the press and everybody else. This was something Donald Trump engineered. And this should be determined plenty of time for the case to be heard and tried before the election so the American people can make a judgment based on the decision of the jury.
So ultimately, is the court basically doing Donald Trump a favor here, whether they intended to or not, by effectively delaying this trial so that it can't possibly start before the election?
I think they are. I don't think there was really a need to hear this case. The appellate court made the right decision. It was a beautiful opinion, and it was clear that there was no question whatsoever. Because if he didn't have the opinion, if he said the president had absolute immunity, and Trump says, oh, the president has to have absolute immunity, but he couldn't do his job. Well, he didn't have absolute immunity when he was president. He said 4 years. He didn't do much of a job anyway, but regardless, it wasn't because he didn't have immunity. And the fact is, this case needs to be heard before the election. And I think he's been stalling for time. He stalled for time in all the cases he's got, throws anything up against the wall to get him extra time because he wants to put it after the election. And if he should win, he will stop these prosecutions.
And look, the voters...
And that's his only hope.
The voters want to know. Nearly half in a CNN poll say that it's essential that a verdict on Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election be reached before November. Now, if they don't get a verdict, what effect will that have? I mean, is this something that helps or hurts Trump?
Well, it helps Trump not to have a verdict and to put it off until after his election. And if he wins, hopefully he won't, but if he does, then he would have a Justice Department that would kill the cases. And he would say, just let them be. And he can do that because he controls the Justice Department. And he'll hire some lackey. He's learned from his first term to hire lackeys at all points. Bill Barr was a lackey, but he's got to have a super lackey. He was just a kind of a regular lackey.
Well, just in that general vein, you previously have said of Justice Clarence Thomas that he should recuse himself for any cases involving January 6th, just broadly. On this particular case, do you think he has to do the same now?
He should, but he won't. He doesn't know anything about ethics. His wife was involved in January 6th, and he's shown by taking monies from wealthy people and hiding it, by getting RVs, several $100,000 RVs, and taking unbelievable journeys and cruises and safaris or whatever paid for by others. He has no thought about ethics, and he would not recuse himself from this case, and he'd do anything he could to help Donald Trump and to keep him in office, and so would Alito. The hope is that, and I have some hope, even at this point, and I'm disappointed it's come to this, because I think they should have just affirmed and said there was no basis to appeal and affirm the circuit court's opinion, which says if he said he had immunity, he could rape, he could murder, he could overthrow the government. But he could rape or he could murder and be immune. This is the only thing Putin can do. Putin's immune in Russia from killing Navalny.
Were you saying, Congressman, that you have hope that the court will rule against Trump here?
I have hope that the Chief Justice Roberts, who I've gotten to know over the years, has the courts at his reputation as his primary authority. There's certain people that think that just about every Republican member of the court is dishonest and that they would do things financially or other reasons to help Trump. I don't believe that John Roberts would do such a thing. And I've got my fingers crossed and hope that Kavanaugh has that same morality and that he will work with Roberts and that the three Democrats at least to have a 5-4 and to see to it that this case does get to trial. I mean, the only thing we can do is hope, because there's no appeal on them. The Supreme Court is the Supreme Court.
Right.
John Roberts has the opinion of the Supreme Court in the American public's mind in his hands, and he values the Supreme Court. He is the Chief Justice. That is his job.
It's very interesting to hear you say that, Congressman Steve Cohen. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome, Abby. Nice to be with you.